Welcome to the Mary Houlihan Show. Today we have esteemed guest Aida Ashouri. Clap, 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 clap. Hi, Aida.
Hello, Mary.
What's up?
Not much. What's up with you?
Just chilling. So you're running for office. What's up?
Yes, I'm actually running for Los Angeles City Attorney.
What is that?
That's a great question. A city attorney, you could think of it as like kind of like the attorney general for the city in a way. We have a district attorney that's for the county, and then the city attorney is just for the city. So the city attorney does a myriad of things. The biggest thing that it does is actually prosecutes all the misdemeanors in the city of Los Angeles. And that's actually the bulk of the arrests that LAPD makes. Mm-hmm. And it has 5 offices just dedicated just doing that. And that's about 35% of the work in the office. And then as well, it defends all the lawsuits that people bring against the city for a myriad of reasons as well. And as well, it advises the mayor, the city council, the 50 departments and commissions that we have, as well as the Port of LA, the airports, and DWP. But it can bring lawsuits on behalf of the city, like in terms of suing landlords that refuse to do any repairs, suing employers for wage theft, suing polluters for, polluting in our city, and as well as bringing lawsuits on behalf of the city in terms of violation of people's rights.
Cool. Nice. So what made you want to run for office?
A few different reasons. I used to work in the office in Los Angeles and in San Diego. And it's there that I saw that the city attorney's offices were very much geared towards, and I worked in the criminal section, worked very much geared towards just convicting people and not really caring about the outcome of the cases or whether or not even that was like beneficial to the city. There was a lot of cases that we would get that were really frivolous, like just really not helpful to bring at all in terms of like criminalizing poverty or just someone who was in the wrong place at the wrong time, maybe. Like we even had a case where someone was just charging their phone at a metro station. These cases obviously take money and time and resources. As well, the city wasn't using its powers to protect people like renters or workers. I have a platform that's based on my experience. When I talk about protecting renters, it's because I was a housing rights attorney and I investigated buildings that were basically had slum conditions because the landlords weren't repairing the building. And I saw other cities like in Berkeley or Northern California doing all this work, suing the landlords and even proudly putting it on their website.
Yeah.
Which is like, wow, what a flex, right? And while at the same time, our city attorney has been backed by real estate lobbyists and has been not holding any landlords accountable. I'm not afraid to stand up to these people because I already have before.
Yeah.
And now it's even worse with the current city attorney in terms of ethical violations and targeting people and protesters because of their political beliefs. And so it's gone kind of off the rails. And I think we have the opportunity to create an office that really acts kind of like a watchdog of all the different departments, commissions, all the other elected officials to make sure that they're doing their job for the community and for the people of Los Angeles and not for their wealthy donors or special interests.
I like that you brought up that these lawsuits are so frivolous and cost so much money because it's not just a social justice warrior thing. It's also if you care about taxes, you should not want these stupid cases to be happening. What the hell? Is someone charging their phone in the wrong... Shut up.
Not only that, but he was also assaulted by 6 officers as well.
What the hell?
Yeah.
And he could sue them, and then they'd have to pay with your tax dollars.
The cousin of the Black Lives Matter founder, Keenan Anderson, he was tased to death. There's no policy on how many times or how long an LAPD officer can tase someone. And so yeah, that lawsuit is an opportunity to kind of push LAPD, you should adopt a policy. I think it's time to do that because I think the goal really is to prevent these lawsuits from happening.
Yeah, because they cost taxpayers
hundreds of millions of dollars.
It's so stupid.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, like, we've had, you
And
know,
I don't care if you like police or don't like police. If you got the little flag with the blue line on the back of your car, God bless. But your tax dollars shouldn't go to pay for lawsuits of someone tasing someone to death. Like, that's crazy.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. That part.
That part, mama. And you're running as an independent, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So I am running as well with the endorsement of the Peace and Freedom Party, and but I'm not running under the Democratic or Republican party, and that's for a lot of reasons. I think one, I want to be able to push a platform that centers the people and not, corporate interests or special interests. And I think it's hard to do when you are aligning with a certain party.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to really focus my platform on the issues and not be as involved in the partisan politics that we are kind of facing today.
Yeah.
And it's actually
they're annoying.
Yeah, and it's really about the issues. And there's a lot of people wanting to, I want to save this party or I want to save that party. I'm trying to move beyond that. Let's just focus on the people right now, and it's a nonpartisan seat. So the party position doesn't even come up on the ballot, and it shouldn't really matter because as a city attorney, I'm representing the people. And I'm supposed to be a fair and unbiased and ethical person, which we haven't had in a minute. But I want to bring that ethical, vision to the position. And I think by running with a party that has been under a banner of being an anti-war party for decades and has focused on the people and making sure that people have living wage, health care, that we're not funding wars abroad. I think that's a platform that I would rather align with.
Yeah, that's cool. I'll say it. I hate war.
I mean, that's a good
Pretty
stance
brave,
to have. Right? Depends on where you're at.
I know,
physically.
Right? Yeah, so many people are activated now because they've been seeing the genocide happen on their phones, and they're like, what the hell? Why are we funding this?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's bringing a lot of people out to vote or keeping people at home if the people running don't want to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that you're an anti-war person. What's your story? You're born in Iran, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was born there during the Iran-Iraq War. And that was actually some of my first memories, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very heavy to talk about, but
I'll go for it.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm
if you want. If you want.
But yeah, I mean, that's why I don't really like fireworks, and
wow.
War is a really traumatic thing,
Yes.
and that's another reason why I empathize so much with the people in Gaza, is because it's not something just on a screen to me. Like as a child, had to experience it, and it's a terrifying thing to have to hide from bombs, and what their experience is on another level in terms of being also starved and denied medical treatment and whatnot. But yeah, my family immigrated here when I was really young, and I moved around a lot. But I grew up predominantly, I would say, in Canoga Park in North Hollywood and Whittier. I was actually living in Canoga Park during the Northridge earthquake, which is another experience of itself. And then my parents separated, but then I was raised by my mom, and she was really hardworking. And as a single immigrant mother, obviously dealt with a lot of issues with like discrimination and lack of resources. And but she was such a fighter. And even I, as a child, was dealing with a lot of discrimination as an immigrant kid. And she would always kind of fight for me as well. And I remember being in court with her, sitting outside in the hallway while she was fighting her employer for wages, fighting wage theft. And I also faced discrimination at a high school, and she was like, I'm going to write the governor. And to hear your mom say that is like so empowering, I think, as a kid. But at the same time, you're like, oh, I don't want to start a new like, you're just trying to fit in and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Mom. Don't sue the governor.
But it was, I think that was inspiring to me, saying like, well, if there's injustice, we should fight it. We shouldn't just, roll over and just, placate. It's about fighting for your rights and fighting for something better. And I think that's inspired me to be an activist eventually. I've been an anti-war activist since I was, for decades, 25 years, I would say, since, the Iraq War was happening. I was involved with what was a group called Not in Our Name at that time, as well as a lot of other organizations. That's where I actually saw also the rise in surveillance under Bush.
Yeah.
And at that time, Palantir had just started. And we're seeing, this progression now of it invading all parts of our life right now, and in terms of going after protesters, going after immigrants, and now it's even affecting the price of our goods in terms of the data that they're using. So if people don't care, if you're not a protester or if you're not an immigrant and you're like, well, I'm not as concerned about surveillance, well, you have a pocketbook. All of the legal data they're gathering is all going to these private entities, right?
Yeah.
And their perspective is not helping us. Obviously, it's about taking our jobs and getting as much money as they can out of us. The same investors with flock cameras and Palantir, they're all kind of like in the same stream. We have a city, and this is happening around the country, that's putting up these private surveillance cameras around our city. And to a point where some cities have even voted to take them down, and they've put them up illegally again.
Yeah.
We don't know how expansive this data could be used, especially when you're seeing these billionaires amassing all of these, all the media companies, right?
Yeah.
And then AI is being pushed to data centers. It feels like the inequity is just being driven up. If we have unions taking more of a stand against these policies, and of course we need to also unionize more of our workplaces, we could try to fight on multiple fronts as well. But I think a lot of people don't know that this is happening, and that's because the city of LA is doing a backroom way of using private nonprofit police foundations, dark money, essentially donating all of the technology behind the surveillance cameras. One thing is like the city attorney approves all these contracts, and also the city attorney advises all these commissions and represents the police in litigation. And so that's an opportunity to basically say no to a lot of these things. So the city attorney has like a lot more power, I feel like, than a lot of people realize in that sense, because they review the contracts. And I also like worked in like international human rights work. That's something I would want to bring to the city attorney's office too, because we shouldn't have any contracts with any countries that are involved in the genocide.
So you passed this ceasefire resolution. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people don't know that Los Angeles has these neighborhood councils. I was elected to the Los Feliz neighborhood council, and the genocide started happening, and I was approached by a friend and like, do you want to write a ceasefire resolution? And it's difficult doing stuff like that because like you're always afraid of being the target of like any type of vitriol or whatnot when you're like doing something like that. But I realized this is the least I could do for this time. I drafted this based on the fact that I actually worked in the Khmer Rouge Tribunal before law school, helping indict the former president of the Khmer Rouge for war crimes and genocide. It's unparalleled to what we see in Gaza, right, where the government is literally saying on television, I want to wipe out these people.
Yeah. It's
so blatant, and it's just wild how folks like are just brushing those things off, and it's obviously the result of like many decades of dehumanization and propaganda of treating Palestinians as like, less than human in a way. The first draft of the resolution was pretty strong, and it did actually include a kind of like a block the bombs type of thing. It was like kind of like a 7-6 no, and we reworked it, and it was reworked in a way where it still got the message across, but it wasn't as strong as how I had originally written it. And but it was still very thorough in terms of like condemning the violence and acknowledging the war crimes happening, and how we oppose military occupation and ethnic cleansing, and demanded the city council write a resolution akin to what we had written. But it was still passed almost unanimously. Only 1% voted against it. But yeah, right now, I mean, the genocide is still continuing. I know the media has stopped because they're like, oh, dang, ceasefire. But that's not how what's actually, reflecting the reality of what's happening.
Yeah, it's crazy. So much stuff about this genocide is illegal, and no one's holding them to account, which I guess is what a city attorney can help.
As city attorney, again, I can review contracts, push back on things. Definitely when it comes to international law, and if there's a contract violating that, like if we're in a relation with like a weapons manufacturer or something like that, we really shouldn't be having any cooperation with a weapons manufacturer that is also responsible for genocide. Our own government has what's called the Leahy...
Yes, the Leahy law. I know about it from Wikipedia. Yeah. Yes.
There's another law as well that basically blocks sending military support to a country that's being investigated for human rights abuses.
I would love to see the Leahy law invoked more, because it is illegal for us to sell weapons to a country that's committing war crimes. It's illegal. I really think the best of people. I don't think people are evil. So I think a lot of Americans are misinformed and just don't know about this stuff. And so we have to educate them so that they'll be like, holy crap, you're doing what with my tax dollars? Most people don't want to fund a genocide.
I mean, that's reflected in the polls as well.
Exactly.
I think people want money to stay and fund healthcare and fund fixing our roads and our sidewalks and provide real public transportation. Like, I was just reading how instead of having a car-free Olympics, they're going to push helicopters.
That's so stupid.
And there is a partner for the Olympics for these they're calling them air taxis.
That's so stupid.
And they'll be flying at low levels.
Right.
So you'll be like, oh, hi, Peter Thiel. Like,
I know there's going to be at least one helicopter accident. You know there's going to be one.
And it's what's wild. I feel like we're in parallel realities, right?
Yes.
We have like the working people who are just like trying to survive. They're dealing with like, cuts to SNAP, cuts to their healthcare, cuts to, the economy. And then we have this other group of people who are just getting increasingly wealthy, and the politicians are just catering to them.
Yes.
As we increase this inequity with all of this disenfranchising development, and our city caters to the wealthy, caters to surveillance, we are going to see more increasingly this divide between these two groups of people, between the working people and the very wealthy. And a lot of people think that they're closer to the wealthy than the working people. And like, no.
No way.
Yeah.
They have billions of dollars, not millions.
I want to be funded by the people. I don't want to be funded by the same corporate attorneys and executives that are causing the same problems that we're dealing with. That's where accountability comes from. It's really, you're accountable to the people who fund you.
With corporate campaign financing, it's become so normal. Like, it's been happening for over 10 years now. Like, you talk to people and they've been convinced by the media that it's normal and it's just what you have to do. And, well, the other side is getting donations from Goldman Sachs or whatever, so we have to. You don't. You don't.
It's a choice.
Yeah.
Choices.
We've seen it with Bernie and AOC and Zoran and all these people. If you get enough people working together to donate to good candidates, you can get them in office. You can get them to beat the people that are funded by freaking helicopter companies and weapons companies. What are we even talking about? This is so stupid.
We definitely need campaign finance reform. Right now with the Supreme Court, it doesn't look like we're getting that anytime soon.
Yeah.
And with like Congress right now, it doesn't look like we'll get that anytime soon. But we can still try to elect people who are in opposition to that.
Like you said, we really don't have recourse right now. Citizens United is not going to get overturned anytime soon. And so many politicians in office are backed by corporate donors. So they have no interest in turning this over. And not for nothing, if you're funded by oil and gas companies, you know we're going to a war. They're going to take us to war because they want more oil. Unfortunately, for now, the only thing that we can do is out fundraise. Folks, you gotta vote for Aida Ashouri. She's not a Republican. She's not a Democrat. She's fighting for you, regular people. Anyone who can afford to do small donations, big donations are good too. But if you can afford to do $5, $2 to these candidates, it's so important, because you can outspend corporations if you have enough people working together. So if people want to donate to your campaign or volunteer with your campaign, how do they do that?
They can go to my website, Aida for LA. That's AIDA, AidaForLA.com.
Aida, any last words? We're unfortunately out of time.
Please donate to a grassroots candidate. Please sign up to volunteer. If you can't donate, please do both if you can do that. We're going to need a lot of people to collect signatures to get on the ballot in February. So signing up to volunteer will be really helpful, and we'll have opportunities to volunteer as well in January. And please come out to any events you see. Follow me on socials again. And yeah, make sure to hold your elected leaders accountable, because this city is made up by us. We're the ones that pay them their salaries, and they should be accountable to us.
Well, let's freaking make life better for us and not rich assholes. Vote for Aida. Check out her website. Bye-bye.
Thank you.